How the heck did it come from her?
It's different.
Call the meeting to order, and we start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Welcome, everybody, here tonight. It's nice to see you in the rain. We'll start, we'll move on to item number 2, and we'll approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mary, second by John. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Move on to the third item of business, which is approving the consent calendar, which is the minutes from the last meeting, January 24th, and the payment of bills.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by John, second by Blake. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that brings us to the next item, and she's here. So we'll do the presentation of Discover Staples Tourism Update.
I think you guys all have a very nice version of what I have in front of me. I just have a couple things to pass out if I may. I think you've all seen these. You want to take one off them? And then here's what we'll be running through tonight. Really quick. So I'm sure you guys all do know what I do, but we'll just do a quick little update. If you have any questions on the pamphlet you guys received earlier today, I'd be happy to answer those. But if you've looked through it already, or if you're looking through it currently, that's pretty much what we are following for the next couple years. This is our communications marketing plan, which we did pay a company to come in and interviewed several different groups in Staples to try to get a good feel for how we can market our community that would be a true representation of who we are, and also to market to the type of people that we would want to come to Staples, and to not to try to present ourselves or look attractive to a demographic that would not value what we value, and that would not appreciate what we have to offer in Staples. So if you can look through this communication plan, or if you have, I do think we did hit a pretty good home run here. The pictures that we are trying to take, you can see on our website. I did kind of go off of exactly what they had here. It wasn't too far of a stretch to try to get trucks and sunsets and fields and dirt roads and kids playing. I mean, that is really who we are, but to show it in a professional and kind of telling a story kind of way is the goal that we have. So step one, we got this. We created a logo. We've got some colors. We have a theme that we think is good. We did not take the tagline that they gave us, which was, I think, good times. It's nice, but I just don't think it quite fit us. So we're working more off of maybe turn in on 10 or something like that. That's really kind of the goal of what we want to do, but haven't landed quite yet. Our new website is up and running as of about a week and a half ago. We have a new website, discoverstaples.com, instead of discoverstaples.org, though we do own all of those entities, .com, .org, and the Discover Staples MN and Discover Staples. So that way we get all of that traffic funneled to us. We also have information on our website for all different groups in our community. For example, we are linked to the school's activities websites. That would be Sacred Heart and Staples Motley Elementary and High School. We are trying to kind of be a hub for information. Whether you land on the school district's website, they have a link for us to come here. If you land on us, we have a link for you to go there. So that way it shows the community that we do talk to each other, we communicate well with each other. We are one big happy family, so to speak. You want to make sure that when people are looking at our community, that they see that there's not a disconnect here, that if they're thinking about moving here, that this is a community that we're happy with each other and they might be happy here. So those are kind of some of the things that we're trying to portray here. A lot of what we do for Discover Staples is outside of Staples. So a lot of people, a lot of locals may not know or see a lot of what we do, and that's actually kind of the goal. We do have an element that I'm working on to work within our HR groups so that when people are pitching their jobs or when they are searching for employees or when they are actively interviewing, that our website has a location on it, which will come soon, for a boilerplate on those websites when they're saying thank you for your interview. If you want to have any, if you have any questions, if you like a live, play, stay element to our website and conversation that people can have when they are either touring a facility or our community. And that would be a connection that people can make with, as you can see on my notes, with realtors, with HR professionals, with people who are just coming here through the hotel to take a visit, sports events. I just had these out at the Staples Motley Speech tournament where we have 14 teams. So things like that where we have anything over 100 people from outside of our community in is where I want to get our brochures and our Discover Staples Visitors Guide in the hands of people so that if they're here for just a couple hours, they might have a reason to come back as they drive through, which is our big demographic. Within a 2-hour radius is about where we expect to get people driving the cabin traffic, the snowmobilers, the ice fishing, the camping, the river cruising, things like that. Those are our people. Those are the people likely to stop, and people aren't likely to live in Staples if they've never visited in Staples. So we're trying to get that first visit, make that a success, get them to come back, get them to maybe look into jobs here or that work remotely option, and then just step them back into eventually becoming a citizen of Staples. And so if we can get a little bit more real estate options, we could definitely push that live a little bit harder, but until that becomes a valid option for people, we're working on the, visit, discover, stay, and then eventually hopefully work or live there. So with that being said, we some of the examples you guys have in there are the ads that we place. We have a marketing budget that we get from our tourism dollars, and then I do go for marketing grants from Explore Minnesota, and then eventually hopefully we can branch out and get different ones, but that's typically how we fund most of our efforts. We do not ask for donations. This isn't kind of a fundraising opportunity or an ask for our communities unless we are doing ads for that specifically. That's about the only thing we've ever come to the community with, which is pretty typical of most communities when you do an ad placement. We're trying to make those last for 2 years so people's dollars go really far and it's not an annual ask. That is lasting us for 2 years. We'll do another one for 2024 to 2025 because I think that's a reasonable ask and I don't want to saturate an already inundated market. A lot of our businesses get asked for a lot of things for our community and for our school, and we don't want to be a burden on our community, but we want to promote our community in the best possible light that we can. That's pretty true to them. Another thing that we do is our promotions, and so we'll buy little things like this and put those in a professional basket for people. I try to use local honey and show people, what we have here, while also giving them things like I'm sure you guys have all seen these at True Value. Want to promote our local artists as much as possible. Also trying to promote our schools, trying to promote where you can go. This will probably be next on our list to make this updated with our logo and our visitor's guide, things like that. We'll talk about the farmers market that's over at the hospital. We talk about our hospital. And then, of course, we're going to have to update these pretty soon too, but little postcards that people can have. So those are just some things. We do have other things that we do as well. But again, these are just people who talk well about our community, who are proud about our community. They sit on this board. We have hospitality represented here. We have our mayor represented here. We also have another city council member position that we have here. We've got Melissa Wyman over here represented. So we try to get a little bit of a representation of everyone who works on promoting Staples outside of Staples to people also within Staples. We need our people to know how to brag about our community and what to say when other people are saying, well, what's the big deal? It gets really hard sometimes for us to be tourists in our own community, but it's also kind of fun. So I think this magazine has been received really well by locals and people who are outside of our community, and that's been a fun project to take on. And so we just want to make Staples residents proud and other people to have a good idea of who we are. With that, I'll take any questions unless we're good.
Questions for Renee?
So Renee, maybe for our
Yeah.
new members, the tourism dollars that you talked about, maybe how are they generated?
There is sorry, yep, that is a great question. We've got a tourism tax that came in when the Iveses built their new hotel. I think that's when it was established. Correct me if I'm wrong. Huh? Yeah, go for it. Please, Melissa will know all of that.
So at the time that the Timberlake Hotel came in, what was it, 2016, the city council, the city decided to implement a lodging tax. It's a 3% tax that goes to every customer at each of the hotels that are located in the city of Staples. All those dollars, that tax gets submitted to the city of Staples, and then we submit that over to the tourism group. They have specific uses that are allowed by legislature for that tax. And so most of what she's referring to is used with tourism dollars. However, she does have other dollars coming in that pay for some of the other more community-based stuff. So the ads that you're seeing, the website, that's all tourism-based. When you start talking the community side of it, those are different dollars that are coming in, but the same person that's integrating into everything. So just kind of for the councils, if there's any concern there, the dollars aren't being misused from the lodging tax. They're being capitalized on, I should say, through other funding sources. So, but otherwise, that is how those dollars came in. This year, what is it, 40?
Yep, we got 41,000 from.
41,000
dollars.
from the lodging tax this year. So what was the actual total? The city does keep, I think it's a 5%. That's okay, you don't have to know off the top of your head. It was an additional 5%. So for the administrative costs, as we track it, we take it in, we submit to the state, take care of all of that. Well, Tara does. And then the rest of it goes over to the Discover Staples Tourism Group to spend on marketing and different things. So it isn't taxpayer dollars, it's from the lodging tax of visitors coming to stay, which is why it's such a big deal to have our lodging institutions on there. They have a lot of interest in making sure that those dollars are being used to put heads, how they put it, heads in their beds, so.
Thanks. I just thought that was important for people
Yeah,
to understand.
absolutely.
Any other questions?
Okay, thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. We'll move on to the next item, which is to consider approval of a 2023 pay equity report.
So in your packet, there's a couple of pages on this. State law requires that every 3 years we submit information and a pay equity report, which we have done, and a copy of the notice and also the pay equity report itself are included in your packet, and would ask for a motion to approve that.
I'll make that motion.
Motion from John,
Second?
second from Mary. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Move on to the next item. Consider approval of gambling permit for Sacred Heart Church for bingo on April 2nd, 2023 at Sacred Heart Church.
So moved. So moved.
Second. Motion by Doug, second by Blake. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
It brings us to the next item. Consider approval of a gambling permit for Sacred Heart Church for bingo and raffle on May 6th,
Second.
2023 at Sacred Heart School. Motion by Blake, second by Doug. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Right. Move on to item number 8. Consider approval of Sacred Heart Area School temporary liquor license for May 6th, 2023.
So moved.
Motion by Doug, second by Blake. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Move on to item number 9. Consider approval of Todd Wadena County's Fire Association Mutual Aid Agreement.
In your packet is a copy of the agreement, and this is basically the fire departments in Todd and Wadena County. Cole's here and answer any other questions related to that, but basically says they'll help us, we help them, and puts it on paper what the arrangement is. I believe it's basically identical to the previous ones that we've had.
Same contract as the last 3 years of that. Done that? Just a different date.
I'll make the motion for the approval. I'll second it.
Motion by John, second by Roy. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next on the agenda is consider approval of Resolution 1894, Fire Relief Pension Increase.
So this may sound familiar, because we did this actually in December, we just did not do it in the form of a resolution. And the Relief Association does need that, but basically the increase from 1,900 to 2,100 for each year of service, effective January 1.
So moved?
Second.
Motion by Mary, second by Doug. Any discussion?
I'll abstain.
Was that Blake?
He's abstaining.
Oh, he's abstaining, gotcha. All right, having no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we'll move on to committee reports. We'll start with Staples Economic Development Authority.
Thanks, Ron. We met January 24th. The first half of the meeting was basically annual caretaking things, renewing leases for the industrial building, renewing memberships that we do on an annual basis, and a sponsorship that we do on an annual basis. Typically, you can see what all of those were. The only difference this year was we elected not to renew our membership with Community Venture Network. We'll see how this year goes for them, maybe get some feedback from some of my partners or our partners throughout the state who are members of that, and see kind of what their assessment is of it this year. So we'll reassess next year, but for this year, that one was not renewed. We talked about the machine trades brochure. You guys have a copy of that in there. I do have some of the shiny copies, if anybody would like to take one, available for you. This was a partnership between 3M, the Staples EDA, and then the Economic Alliance of Wadena. It's basically the Wadena County Economic Development Authority. Called the Alliance. Anyways, so we worked on that together, along with CLC was a big part of it as well, with gathering information from them. Their intent is to reach out to schools and get this into the hands of, that 9th and 10th graders, maybe even 7th and 8th graders, to help them kind of explore a career path in machine trades. You can see on the last page of it some anticipated growth that they're expecting in their field, and so they will be, they're wanting to get started now to be able to recruit people into that area in conjunction with Central Lakes College and other colleges too. Let's see, Downtown Revitalization Plan, we held our big community meeting. That was approximately 40 people showed up. Thank you to those who did attend that. We were able to, at that meeting, start the process of splitting into small groups to implement that plan. Each group, there's 3 team leads, one for each of those groups. Thank you, Blake, for leading our largest one. And we are still looking, so if anybody's interested in joining any of those 3, it is open to anybody who wants to participate and be part of them. But we do have those going, and then every quarter we'll have a team lead meeting with myself and Neil, and I participate as needed, and I'm available for assistance or help or, to throw ideas at. And then with that, they can come for dollars that align with the Blandin Foundation. So, grant. And then the Active Transportation grant was submitted. We'll hear back in March. Small Cities grant was submitted. We should hear back this spring. ARPA was submitted to the Wadena County Commissioners. They had additional questions with that application, potentially looking at another idea. So we have kind of a first ask and a second ask on it. The dollars are still allocated to us. They did give us until July of this summer to kind of carry on those conversations, answer their questions, kind of get additional information to them. So that's there, but not there at the moment, I guess. But we're still working with them on that. Otherwise, we did get a nice update from Dave Endicott at Central Lakes College. He is retiring. He's the Staples Dean, so they are looking for a dean. If you guys want to spread the word, the information is out and about, but they are looking for a Staples campus dean. So it's kind of that's where we are. That is what we talked about, and we adjourned at around 6:18 exactly. So, any questions? Okay.
My questions, thank you, Melissa. All right, that moves us on to the other committee report, Public Works Commission.
Okay, so first, excuse me, first thing is I have to present what's called the cogeneration report to the city council. This report lists our average energy rates, retail energy rates, and then also lists where you can find the different agreements for somebody who, if somebody was going to install solar or wind generation. It's just a report that I have to present to the council, and you can find it. It's saved in the shared drive. Otherwise, I can print off a copy if anybody's interested in looking at it. But if the council would acknowledge that I presented it, then I'll move on to the next item.
Second.
Motion by Mary, second by Roy, for acknowledgement of the report. Any discussion about that? All right, everybody, I guess in favor?
Hi.
Aye. Opposed?
Okay.
Okay,
Next item, I don't want to give any personal detail away, but we have electric meters that are able to disconnect remotely. We have several installed, and during last month's disconnect period, we discovered one was mislabeled, and unfortunately, we discovered that because we disconnected the wrong customer. That customer was off for approximately 4.5 hours. They threw several items out of their fridge because the refrigerator was off. They provided me a list. I just did a little Google, search of the cost of the grocery items and came up with $52.42. And the commission recommends that we reimburse those people for that amount. And I need the council to accept that.
I'll make the motion that we approve that.
I'll second.
motion by John, second by Roy to accept the recommendation for rebate or paying back to that customer. Any more questions about that? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll make one comment about that too. We do have procedures in place now where that does not happen again. We're able to GPS the meter. So when the guys install it, when they activate it, it also gives itself a spot, it sends off a signal and says, this is my GPS point. So before those meters are activated, they will be confirmed that they are actually at that address. So we will avoid that happening again.
That customer knows that it's coming up tonight and that there's
Yes.
a potential rebate.
Yeah, I've been in communication with them. Yep.
Perfect.
Next item is, the commission recommended that we commit to what's called the EV Smart program. It costs us nothing other than it's just gonna be some staff time, which will be probably mostly mine. But, there's potential for grant money. Basically what they're gonna do is help us, make a roadmap help us get ready for EVs, potentially make some public charging stations available. I'm not sure what grant opportunities there will be, but for the cost of staff time, I think it's worth looking into. Any questions on that? Next item is in your packet, there's engineering proposals. I'll talk about the Second Avenue one first. That's just an extent or a replacement of a section of water main. The only reason that it's in here is because it's 200 feet long, which the Department of Health requires that we have an engineering plan for it. So otherwise, we would just do it. It's unfortunate that we have to have that. We're basically paying money that we don't need to, but we're required. The second one is a little bigger, and that's for proposal for Second Street Northeast. That's west of the school. We've talked about that street before. The surface of the road is beyond repair. And if we're going to go that far in replacing the whole surface, we also have old infrastructure underneath. So that's why this is on the list. And then that also includes the large area on the southwest side of town where we've had those colored water problems. And then we've also found some roots in sewer pipes, so they're kind of all in the same area. So we are taking that area and lumping it in with Second Street. So we'll try to get those done at the same time, which would be in 2024, but we need your approval to accept their proposals, and then that'll get on to, they'll put us on the funding list. So that is what we're asking for right here.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mary, second by Roy. Is there any questions about this or discussion?
I just have one on Second Street Southwest. I know they're always flushing there. Why is that? And I see that's not on here.
Yeah, actually, when I met with them this week and we realized that wasn't on there, and it is now. So it's
Okay.
not necessarily on this one, but we did catch that
Okay.
in our meeting.
Nice.
Yeah, I was wondering why you didn't.
Yeah, we just, I don't know why we overlook it, but it is on there.
Awesome. All right, that's awesome. We have a motion and a second. And we had any more discussion? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Missouri River is offering a cost share with a customer survey. It'll be done digitally, and so it's for our cost of $575. It seems like it's a no-brainer to go with that. What they'll be trying to get out of this survey is customer satisfaction levels, awareness of the value of local ownership, communication preferences, and then I guess what the thing I'm most curious about is our customers' interest in different services, current services, and then possible future services. We get really very little response when we advertise for things, so I'm curious if we can get some participation in this survey. I'm curious on what services people are interested in, and then how we can get them engaged in, so we can move forward with some of them. Load control being one, things like that. So we'll participate in that. I'll be watching a webinar on Thursday, and we'll have more information then. We sent a letter for the final payment on the wastewater treatment plant. We've been talking about this for over a year now. Basically, the letter states that we're making our final payment. We are still withholding that amount of money for the engineering services that, you remember that they considered December 7th. Their substantial completion, we considered January 23rd. So for all the engineering services from in between those dates. We're not paying them for them. And then we also put, you know, some of our staff time on there. So it's 24,800, you know, around there that we're withholding. Our letter states that this is your final payment. We have, throughout the whole year, we've gotten no communication, so we don't know what to expect when we send the letter, but we'll find out.
Hopefully get some kind of movement.
Yeah. Utility information was presented for 2022. It looked a lot like 2021. We used slightly less water, slightly more electricity, but nothing stood out there. We provided an update on projects coming up. We have, obviously, everybody can see the Lakewood Plaza building going on. One of the things I was just finishing up today was we're working on getting the electric plans drawn up for the residential addition that's replacing the trailer park over on 4th Avenue. We have the meat processing place going up in the industrial park, and then we're also taking over Voyager this summer. And we have the clinic, Essentia Clinic, so a lot of good projects going on this summer, and it'll keep us pretty busy, and keeping us busy now, getting ready for them. And supply chain is still an issue, but I think a lot of the items we have, it's just a matter of making sure we don't run ourselves out of anything that we can't, you know, that we might need in an emergency too. But I think we're set up okay. And then last thing I'll talk about is that you know, I emailed the council about reaching out to our senators and congressmen about the 100% carbon-free bill. It did pass. One comment that was made though was that we did make a good impression. The municipal utilities statewide at least did make their voices heard. So if anybody did reach out, we appreciate it. And you know, those kinds of things do help. It goes into effect immediately. I don't think we're going to see any immediate impact from it. And, you know, really, it's not going to be me that has to deal with it. It's going to be Missouri River is going to be, you know, they're the ones that are supplying us with the energy. So they're the ones that are going to have to come up with the different resources to try to get us to 100% carbon free. You know, eventually this stuff will come down to us. You know, but they're too early to tell right now.
When they passed the bill, they got some amendments onto the bill that helped, right?
They did not get any,
They
they
amendments?
got no amendments on there.
Oh, they
The only
proposed some
change,
amendments.
yeah,
Okay.
the only change that we got was, I could be wrong about I think it's 2030, the first bill needed 80% carbon free, and they got it down to 60%.
That's the only change that they allowed.
That's the only change they made from the original bill. So it's 100% carbon free by 2040. It's 100% carbon free, but 55% renewable, which that's going to be difficult.
And then there was a follow-up article in the Minneapolis paper about just how much that's really gonna cost us.
Yeah, there's anything when it's politics, there's gonna be two sides. And some will say it's achievable, and some will say it's going to be really expensive. I think everybody can acknowledge that technology doesn't exist yet to get there. So the bill was passed banking on the technology catching up with the law.
I don't know, Tom, from the co-op's perspective, what kind of input are you guys getting or feedback on that?
Same thing, it's not good. One misnomer in that bill was the carbon-free portion. It doesn't technically have to be carbon-free because you can use your RECs
Right.
to offset. So you can still burn coal or gas, but use your wind credits to offset that renewable energy standard credit. So a lot of people are thinking that everything's gonna shut down, well, it's not. We're gonna, like Greater Energy is gonna use our RECs to still operate our heating plants to keep the power on. And I'm sure Missouri River is gonna do the same thing.
Yeah,
Use their wind farm credits to still run the peaking plants, so we don't run out of power out here. So Excel and, Minnesota Power are gonna have a little harder time with that than the municipals and co-ops.
one concern is that the RECs are gonna become more expensive because they're,
190 ton
yeah, so
carbon emissions.
they're, it's supply and demand, so they're gonna be more in demand, and now it's gonna get more expensive because of that. That's all I have, unless anybody has any questions.
Any questions at all, Scott? Thanks, Scott. We'll move on to open forum. Anyone out there got anything they want to bring up? All right, move on to city administrative report.
Just a few items. Want to make the council aware that we're going to be meeting with the townships for our annual fire standby fee meeting, February 22nd, so a week from tomorrow, 7 p.m. down at the fire hall. So if you want to come down and participate in that and look at the red fire trucks, you're welcome to come down. So continue to work with FEMA and Widseth on storm shelter stuff, making some modifications to the plan, doing some code review type stuff to shave costs related to that project. The Microsoft 365 conversion is done. Hopefully everybody's able to get their emails. Okay. Had, just a few oddball things, some stuff with our HVAC control alarms and different things like that. But I think, as far as I know, everybody has transitioned to the new system and everything's working, so.
Loaded every email that I think I ever got in the last 8 years onto my iPad.
Hundreds.
So I have lots of emails that I get to look at.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I've got emails going back to 1994.
They all just came in.
And they don't go away either very much.
Yeah, it's, I actually had called IT because my stuff, it wasn't showing up, and it just took that long to actually get it all downloaded, so. But if any of you are fully knowledgeable on Microsoft 365, please come in and train us on all the features of it. So if you like anything else, about the time we totally get it figured out, there'll be something new, so. Met with Central Lakes College with the farm manager looking at, and I would anticipate in the next month or so, we'll have the airport property agricultural lease out there. Every 3 years, MnDOT Aeronautics comes and does what they call a 50-10 inspection, basically checking for any obstructions, trees growing too high. One of the things that they look at is crops and what type of crops are planted adjacent or off the ends of the runways. And so over the years, there's always a little encroachment, and then we push it back. So I think everybody's on the same page now as far as what can be planted where, where they can't plant anything, all of that type of stuff. So. Spent a fair amount of time on Zoom meetings with architects that are doing the Essentia Clinic, doing some initial zoning review with them, and then also with surveyors from Widseth on the Ives development up there. So just trying to get, prior to full plan submittal, make sure everybody's on the same page with our zoning requirements. And that is all I have on my list. So if there's a question.
Supposed to mention that fence on A Street. There's a couple of the neighbors wondering what's going on with that.
That is going to court.
Okay,
Actual to a trial, yeah.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a couple of the neighbors asking, so. Good,
Slow process.
yeah. Yep.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Motion from Roy, second from John to adjourn. All those in favor?
Hey.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Sleep for the damn last night. The way,
Mary Jo,
I was at work in
what's
the
on your
shop
street?
and I didn't know Tony was.
Well, there's a
up there.
fence issue that's been going on for a long time.